Hello and welcome. I'm Peggy. Thank you so much for letting us share a part of your day. And today we are going to highlight the Greenville Literacy Association. And they have sister programs all over the United States. And we certainly have our share in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. But today we're going to talk about the Greenville Literacy Association, and we have two very special people here. But before we do that, I wanted just to share a video with you, just a couple of minutes, but it's very, very good information about eyesight, and particularly people who struggle with diabetes and eye problems. And somehow they sort of go hand in hand. We need to be mindful that we need to take care of our eyes. So we're going to share this with you.
More than half of people with diabetes who took part in the survey had no idea that they were at risk for diabetic eye disease.
The main cause of diabetic vision loss is something called diabetic macular edema, and that's where the focus point of the eye gets swollen from leaky blood vessels. And this can be treated, and that's an important point to know as well.
In fact, people can be on the verge of vision loss and not even have any symptoms.
I think the number one thing that patients with diabetes can do to protect their eyesight involves getting this annual dilated eye exam. It involves going to an eye doctor, getting drops in your eyes to dilate your pupil, and the doctor looking from front to back to look at the front of the eye and also to look at the retina to look for potential problems from diabetes.
The survey found that one of the main reasons people did not get an annual dilated eye exam was a lack of awareness.
The survey conducted in collaboration with Regeneron reemphasizes the fact that many patients with diabetes are not getting that eye exam. I think they're not getting the eye exam, number one, because they're not aware of the recommendations of an annual dilated eye exam to reduce risk of vision loss.
Visit diabetessightrisk.com to get the facts.
Well, welcome back. And I do want to welcome now two very special people who've come to share with us about the Greenville Literacy Association. And I'm so pleased to have right here next to me, Carol Browning. She is the Executive Director of the Greenville Literacy Association. And next to her is a board member, Judith Prince. And thank you for coming. And I think we better begin at the very beginning. Everybody's heard the word, the Literacy Association. But what is it?
Well, Greenville Literacy Association is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year for starters.
50 years.
50 years. Our mission is to provide adult education and a pathway to employment. So we teach reading, social studies, science, math, English.
And this is for adults.
Anyone over 17 who is aged out of school but hasn't gotten their high school diploma.
Okay, so if you've not graduated and gotten that diploma, but in order to get a good paying job, you have to be able to bring something to the table. And this is what are employers looking for? You know all of this. Share it with us.
Well, employers are looking for people who can think, have critical thinking skills, solve problems, who can read manuals, understand technical information, be able to do calculations, be able to work on computers. And these are all things that are covered in courses at the Greenville Literacy Association. Things that employers actually need and want.
Okay, so now you're celebrating 50 years. And during those 50 years, you have helped over 63,000 adults.
Yes, Peggy.
That's tremendous.
That's probably actually an underestimation because we didn't start keeping records until 1976. So that 63,000 that we have record of really doesn't represent the whole 50 years.
But the thing is, Peggy, there are, even in our community now, 50,000 citizens who do not have a GED or a high school diploma. So the issues that we faced, even as Greenville literacy started continue today, and have become much more severe, because those who have low literacy skills are twice as likely not to be employed.
And then they end up sometimes in prison.
Yes.
They end up in trouble. And you're not talking about kids, you're talking about adults.
Adults. So if you can't work, you have to find a way to have subsistence of some kind. And there are all sorts of barriers when you don't have the education necessary to get what they call a living wage that would allow you to support yourself.
And I think too, Peggy, that one thing we often think about is low literacy is equivalent to not having a job, but it has a much greater impact in our community. Research has shown that those with low literacy skills are really not good citizens, or don't contribute to stable communities, because they don't participate in the political process, they don't volunteer, they usually have health issues, low literacy. A child brought up in a home in which the parents are not educated is 10 times more likely not to graduate or to continue in that kind of poverty cycle. So low literacy contributes just to so many and has such an impact on so many things in our community.
Now you work with the whole organization, and you have similar organizations all across the country. So if somebody's in Asheville or someplace in Georgia, they probably would have a literacy association in their area.
Yes, they are usually local organizations, so there's no connection from a corporate standpoint, but we all do the same thing, and we gather on a regular basis every year and talk about the issues and the opportunities. There is a national association called Pro Literacy that most adult literacy organizations belong to.
Okay, and we're celebrating here 50 years.
50 years of helping people read.
But the needs are still growing.
Yeah.
The needs, Peggy, are changing. So
in what way?
In 1965, we taught people to read. That was our goal. And then as we began to get more international residents in the upstate of South Carolina, we realized that people needed English proficiency in order to get jobs, in order to assimilate into the community. Then we began to realize that they needed help getting a high school diploma if they had dropped out, so we did GED preparation. So what we do for the community changes as the community's needs change. And now what we're doing is helping that transition from education into employment with a process called career pathways.
And this is, to me, one of the most exciting things.
Career pathway.
In which we're involved. We want to help our students become literate, but at the same time we want to provide them opportunities to learn skills, employment skills. So we are working toward a new program that would enable students to do both simultaneously. And I find that just so exciting, because sometimes it's hard to be motivated to continue to learn science and math and subjects of that nature, while you know what you really need to do is to get a job. And so we're hoping to provide an opportunity with a partnership with Quick Jobs at Greenville Technical College for students to both learn literacy skills and a skill such as a certified nursing assistant or something of that nature at the same time. And therefore they'll move much more quickly toward employment while they are getting those literacy skills.
And almost any kind of job, like you were talking about, you have to be able to read.
Yes.
Right.
And a lot more.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the basic.
It's a basic.
There was a program started about 10 years ago in the state of Washington, and they called it IBEST, Integrated Basic Education and Skills Training. So while you're learning your math and your language arts, you're also maybe getting a course in welding. So you get that basic education at the same time that you get the skilled training. And as Judith said, you can make your way to a good paying job at a much faster pace, but it doesn't stop there. Because once you have that welding job, then maybe you back and get the GED, and you could be a welding supervisor, or you could go on to another position that's a little bit higher. That's why they call it career pathways.
Career pathway, I like that. And Dr. Prince, you are an educator
Yes, I am.
For a long time.
For a long time, yes.
Yeah, so you're fit right into this.
I'm very, very passionate about this because I have seen how education transforms lives. It transformed my life. I grew up on a farm in North Georgia and was able to get a college education and travel around the world and have a quality of life far better than my parents. So I know what education can do. My passion is with those who don't have enough education that even reading a prescription bottle is a problem, or even understanding insurance, health insurance, understanding all the complex things you need to understand about health insurance. We have to have a certain level of education to have a certain quality of life today. And I'm just passionate about people getting that level of education, not only for jobs, but what it can do for the family, what it can do for their own personal situation in terms of their health. And everybody wants to work or would like to work because that gives them self-esteem. That's where they're, many of them have their relationships. So getting to a job is a very critical part of what we're talking about.
And of course, if you're going to have a good job, you have to be able to provide something that the employer is going to want.
That's right.
Let me give you an example of the difference it is for an adult who does and doesn't have a high school diploma. So if you don't have a high school diploma, the average in Greenville County annual income is $10,800 a year. The poverty rate in Greenville County is $11,500. Mm-hmm. So you would be below poverty level. If you have that high school diploma and you can get a full-time job, you're most likely going to have insurance as well. You're going to be more self-sufficient. You will probably be making an average of $25,000 a year. So that's a huge jump between 10.8 and 25.
And do we have a problem here that, and obviously you people are trying to address, where we have too many people who don't have the basic education or the diploma to qualify?
Yes. You know, Peggy, there are jobs in Greenville. We have a pretty good economy.
Yeah.
But the skill levels at which those jobs are available are higher than many of our citizens who have low literacy levels. So our goal is to give them the opportunities and remove those barriers so they can get those jobs.
And the Literacy Association is all across the United States. I mean, there are other groups, but yours, of course, is here.
Right.
And we do have a website and a phone number. What we're going to do is go to a quick break. We'll come back and put that on the screen, and you can, you know, if you think or maybe know someone who would benefit from finding out a little bit more about this, please make a note of it. We'll be right back.